yeah, I'm grateful you responded. I really loved I just loved your aesthetic and your vision of your show, and so I wanted to be a part of it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That means so much. I when I saw your message, I immediately like stalked you.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's so interesting because I've been talking to like my friends and family about this for the last couple weeks, that I'm like, I don't know like truly what my real aesthetic is or my real vibe, or like I don't know what my message is
Yeah.
for the internet yet.
Mm-hmm.
I know I have one
Sure, yeah.
because I'm a creative.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think I'm a doer, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you messaged me, it was just very, you know, like happenstance, but like happy coincidence
Mm-hmm.
that I saw your stuff and I was like, wow. I wouldn't even say like that I was like, oh, like that's my message. I just was like, whoa, like this feels like me.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I can relate to this like a lot.
Yeah.
And it like helped remind me like, oh, this actually is what I'm passionate about. Like
Right.
I really do love talking about this.
Yeah, yeah. It's cool. You're at kind of this, like we talked about it before the show, but you had an old show that you did a bunch of episodes on.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Talk Tape?
Tape talk.
Tape Talk.
Just reverse.
Ticker Tape Parade.
Yeah.
And then this is kind of your new show. What is this, like 10th, 11th episode or something?
This might be the 12th.
Okay, yeah.
11th or 12th. So, yeah.
But yeah, your stuff, like, I think it's funny, like, it's so hard to, like, assess your own art and, like, put a label on it and talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
But just from an outsider, like, I don't feel like you're, like, rudderless and wandering and, like, don't have a clear voice. Like, I feel like it's very clear.
Really?
Yeah. But I don't think, that doesn't mean you don't meander,
Sure.
you know?
Right.
You meander all the time, but that's part of your charm. Like, that's part of the reason why you're interesting. Like, for me, I'm drawn, when we're talking about media, we're talking about art, I'm drawn to personalities, you know? And so to me, if a personality is interesting, they can talk about whatever they want.
Right.
And eventually, to get me to kind of stay, there's probably some themes that I want to listen to or hear or explore. But
some kind of consistency.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I was listening to your podcast, I think episode 2 or 3, one of your solo ones, and you said something that made me sad.
What was it?
It made me sad because you were like, you said you had like filmed an episode or two and just completely scrapped it because you're like, I didn't know what I was talking about. I didn't like what I was saying. I wasn't sure what I was saying. And I was like, dang it, that's the episode I want to see.
Right.
I want to see, and not from a standpoint of like, let me like laugh at her mistakes.
Right. And like judge it.
Yeah, but from a standpoint of like, I want to see the artist evolve. I want to see the process where you are unsure, but you're just swimming through it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, it's actually really funny that you say that because I think a lot of my podcasting journey, the whole theme of it, what I'm really finding the theme that is my life is to embrace your phases. That has been, I mean, it's a very new awareness.
Yeah.
But I feel very strongly about it. And it's kind of this feeling of like, no matter what it looks like, no matter, even if I change my mind on this thing, or I change my mind on how it looks, or I change my mind on, you know, the color scheme, the design, even the message, it should still be a part of my external expression. Right? I think I posted a video, like, I think it was yesterday. And I talked about how I also have a branding business. It's called Ray Vision, where I just help small businesses just find their branding and find themselves. Right. Which is hilarious because I can't find myself all the time. But
you don't talk with your hands, do you?
Oh, I do.
I'm just kidding.
But now I'm gonna be like subconscious.
No, I just love to point things out to make people self-conscious if possible.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. No, I just don't, not to cut you off, but
no, you're fine.
I feel like I've noticed, I don't know if this is supported by any data, but I feel like girls talk with their hands more than guys.
Agreed.
Like, especially on social media, I feel like they're constantly like
it's all about this.
Yeah, they're pinching things in the air, and I don't super understand it. I don't have a problem with it. I just
You're talking with your hand right now.
I can't relate. Like, yeah, I'll talk with my hands a little bit, but there's not much going on, right?
For me, it's like there's a lot of this. There's a lot of
yeah, there's a lot.
You know what? Okay, this is my off the cuff answer about that.
Yeah,
I think I'm even doing it now. I think it's because, and I don't want to say this in like an insensitive way, but from my experience, I think women talk with their hands because they need the attention to stay on them. And so as long as we're up here, we're snapping back here, we're showing you this, we're over here. What we're doing is not only we're keeping the attention on us, but we're also like manipulating the people a little bit, right?
Sure,
where I'm like, you need to
verbals.
pay attention to this and be here and be there, you know?
It feels like, again, I'm going to attempt to not be insensitive. I feel like it's maybe an insecurity.
Yes.
Right? Like,
right.
Because I don't think, like, I think usually when a woman is talking, they don't need any more attention. Like, people are happy to look, you know, especially if heaven forbid they're attractive, like eyes are going to go there. But I think subconsciously you think like, no, I need to drop people in. I need all eyes on me. 'Cause for whatever reason, I'm insecure about whatever's coming out of my mouth.
Right. It's a distraction.
Yeah.
I'm going to distract you with this so that my message.
Right.
Well, I also think it's interesting. So I've had entrepreneurial passions throughout my entire life.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to men mainly. And there are many conversations that you just get like directly cut off.
Yeah. And
I'm like, was I not doing enough of this? Was I not being visual enough?
Yeah.
But I think it comes out of an insecure. I really do. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. In these endeavors with men in the business world, do you ever find that you're like, not that you aren't being taken serious, but that your charm, your look, your whatever is distracting them, and you're like, dude, can you focus? I'm just trying to talk business here. I'm not interested in like going out with you. I'm not interested in you trying to seduce me. Like, does that ever come up?
I honestly like, I feel like I'm going to sound conceited like any way I answer this.
No.
I feel like it's a mixture of things. I think maybe that is what certain men are thinking.
Yeah.
They're like,
that's what I would think.
Right. Well, they're like, they're talking to me.
Yeah.
And they have some
ulterior motive.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm just trying to get my message across.
Yeah.
When I'm actually in that situation, I'm thinking that they are just undermining my intelligence. It's not, I'm not thinking like, oh, they're finding me attractive. I understand. Like this happens all the time. Right. I'm not thinking that. I'm like, why can't you understand what I'm trying to tell you? Or like,
you go feminist.
You're questioning my intelligence. Yeah. And they're like, no, I really just want to take you out.
Right.
And I'm thinking that that's a better way to probably look at it than be like defensive.
Let me give you the male side.
Yes. Okay.
And I'm not really in the business world, but I deal with other people in whatever artistic collaborations and stuff. But I'm usually not involved in selling products. But let's say an attractive girl is talking to me about business. I walk into the meeting. I don't know what she looks like yet.
Right.
I walk into the meeting. All of a sudden, she's really attractive. All of a sudden, I'm like, okay, like this isn't going to change how I do business.
Right.
But I'm going to try to do something about this. Like, I'm going to try to make...
We'll try and make something out of
happen.
this.
You know? I'm going to try to get a read. I'm going to try to catch a vibe.
Right.
And, maybe that's inappropriate. Maybe it's not the place. But as a normal adult male, that's just my MO. Like, I see an attractive girl. My brain says, let's see what we can do.
Right. Regardless of.
Yeah. And it's never like, she's dumb. Let's see if we can like, it's never, her intellect doesn't even come into the equation.
Yeah.
It's just, she's not bad to look at. Let's get business out of the way and then see what we can do. Yeah.
Well, I find a common response for women in situations like that. I think it always is this, like, your question, like, why don't you want to listen to? Because I think, honestly, the most attractive thing that a man can do is let a woman, I don't want to say perform, but I want to say, like, to let a woman fully express herself and how she's feeling and what she knows.
Right.
That might be the most attractive thing, because it makes a female, or anyone who has more, probably like more feminine trait, right? I think that we just want to be heard and we want to be understood.
Yeah.
And so the most, if a man, if you're listening out there, to any men out there who are listening.
Do you have male listeners?
I've never asked. I don't know who listens, to be honest.
Okay.
But I think that if you're listening, know that the best thing you can do to get a female to like you, or anyone with a feminine trait.
Notes.
Yeah, put it in your notes. Pull out your notepad. Is to just let them talk. Honestly.
Yeah.
It's let them feel understood and seen and heard.
Yeah.
And I think that there are situations where, I'll be talking to a guy. Sometimes it's just a person, right? Like random stranger at a restaurant, or someone that you're just introduced with, and you want to connect with them. Like you want to see, what you have in common, and it turns into this, like, well, how can I like kind of get what I want out of the attraction, rather than the intellect, rather than the true, like, human connection part. Right. I think women are naturally intuitive. I think that we naturally know how we can connect with people, but I think there are times that men don't give us a chance.
Yeah.
Especially in business, because we also want to connect in business.
Sure.
Too,
yeah.
Right. It's not all just emotion and love and right.
Yeah.
Like, it's just human to human. We want to connect to people.
Yeah. It's interesting, the differences, because I totally understand that and respect it. And there are times when, like, I'm exaggerating a little bit. There are times where, like, I'm talking to a girl and I'm like, I'd love to hit on her, but I can tell she doesn't want to be hit on. I can tell like it's a fruitless endeavor. It's a fool's errand.
Right.
And so I desist. But it's funny, because as a guy, like, you're just not used to, like, people hitting on you. So
really?
Yeah. What do you mean, really? Like,
that just seems like such a,
like
being a girl, thinking about all of the guys that I have approached, or at least wanted to, but never did.
This is my point.
Okay.
It's not that we're it's not that we're undesired, right?
Yeah.
It's just, it's usually not in the girl's nature to go make that first contact. And to be fair, a girl needs to do very little,
right,
to, like, show their interest. They can just, like, smile at a guy and be like, oh, green light.
Oh, I've got the in. Yeah. Right.
Let's go.
Yes.
Whereas for me, I need, like, a full invitation and RSVP, like, and still I'll get shut down. Yeah. And still I'll get shut down. But so my point being, like, as a guy, sometimes it's hard to be sensitive that girls are sick of being hit on, because we're never sick of being hit on. Like, there's not a scenario where a girl could hit on me that I would be bugged.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. I would always be flattered.
That is such an interesting point. So the guy that I'm dating right now, actually, I did go up to him.
Okay.
First.
Where?
So it was at a lacrosse game, and he was reffing the lacrosse game.
Why were you there?
My little brother was playing on the team.
Okay.
And I remember like feeling, I was like, wow, he's super attractive.
Mm-hmm.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, yeah.
And my mom was like, just go up to him. Like, why not? And so I almost didn't, but then at the very last second, I was like, I'm just going to go up to him.
Yeah.
And I did. And here I was so nervous, terrified.
Yeah.
What is he going to say? Is he going to think I'm crazy? You know, like, I think it's more like that our biggest fear, like as a woman, is for the man to think that we're crazy or delusional.
Yeah.
Because going up and hitting on a guy feels crazy and delusional.
Right. But here's the other thing. As a girl, like, worst case scenario, he like doesn't ask you out. It's not really a full rejection. It's just like he doesn't pursue you.
Yeah. Well, then it's over. It's done.
Right.
You'll never see them again.
But as a guy, like, usually you make some sort of gesture that could invite a rejection. Right.
Sure.
Like, usually if I go up to a girl, the end goal is to like get her number, get her Instagram or something.
Right.
Right. Whereas your goal, if you want to go up to a guy, is probably just, let's see if he asks me out. You know?
If I hope I just look pretty enough from 50 feet away that they'll come say hi to me.
Yeah. If he doesn't ask me out, he's a freaking idiot. So, because I came up and talked to him.
That is so funny. Well, yeah. So, I ended up going up to him and I just was like, hey, like, you know, and
didn't even matter what you said.
No. Well, it turns out then he ended up, like, he texted me first and he took me on a date.
Of course.
And I realized, and what I always tell like young girls who are in high school and they're trying to, you know, get their crush to notice them is I'm like, I promise you, if you are the boldest you can be, you will 100% get the attention you want from that guy. Yeah.
And you don't even like, the boldest you can be is like, go say hi.
Go say hi.
Go be like.
When you say be bold to a high school girl, they're like, okay, I'll drop my notebook in front of him. Like, what?
Yeah, throw your notebook at him.
I'll put a sticky note on his car. All right.
Yeah, whatever you want to do.
I'll like his Instagram post.
Yeah. Seriously, you give a guy the slightest hint that you might be interested. If he's interested back,
sure.
He'll probably make something happen.
Yeah. No, that's so interesting. Wow.
How long have you been dating this guy?
We've been dating since September. So I had previously, I was in a 1.5-year relationship and I was living with him. I lived with him for 9 months. And then the last, it was like probably like a month before we broke up, before I broke up with him. That's an important statement. Before I broke up with him, things just came crashing down. And it was in a way that I was like, why was I with this guy for so long?
Why were you with this guy for so long?
That is the question I ask myself every single day.
Well, let's figure it out right now.
Well, I've gotten pretty close to some things, but just to take it back, I promise this will all tie in to your question of how long have I been dating my current boyfriend. So my ex, we met when I think my life was in the most hectic like state ever. I had just moved I had transferred school. So I went to the University of Utah and then 2 years later I transferred to UVU. Okay. And I'm like, I'm just going to do this. So I had just moved. I had just gone through this faith, I don't know.
Journey.
Crisis is probably more so what it is. Faith crisis. Didn't know who I was. I don't think we ever know who we are, but
that's really, a whole other topic.
Really didn't have any sense of what I wanted to do or anything, or even really who I was interested in. It was just kind of like, whatever. Met this guy, and the best way to describe him, I think, is a very genuinely a very amazing person, very kind, good heart. A lot of bad things happened to him that he has not gotten over. And so I started dating him, and what I saw in him was that good heart, the good-heartedness, this like damaged soul kind of thing. And here
was that attractive to you?
It was. Because why? Savior complex.
Yeah.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
I got such a high from helping him.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think that is also a very female trait.
Yeah.
I think
and you're kind of his quasi therapist.
Oh yeah. Well, and just savior. And it made me feel better.
Yeah.
I think I was telling myself throughout the whole time, like, oh, it's all for him. And I just love him so much.
Yeah.
And I want to do all these things. Like, while that can be true, right? You can love someone selflessly. But at the end of the day, the only reason that you are ever in a bad relationship like that is because somewhere it's serving you selfishly. If you're not in a real healthy relationship where you both have to break down your walls, you both have to be vulnerable, you both have to be your raw, exposed self, then neither of you are going to grow.
Yeah.
And it's not actually serving you anyways. And that's what I realized in this relationship is that it felt so good to be with this person because I was never the problem.
Yeah.
Everything was always his fault. And not that it was his fault, but it was just his things.
Yeah, his issue
took priority.
Yeah.
Over anything that I could have been facing at the time. And I felt safe there because I didn't want to face myself. I didn't want to face my issues or be anything other than picture perfect.
Yeah.
Right. When inside, I knew the turmoil. I knew the depth of my darkness.
Yeah.
But I felt good. Not
could, you could kind of hide from your own pain in his pain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think every toxic relationship is some mixture of that.
Yeah.
Where you are hiding. You're either the exposed one or you're the one hiding.
Yeah.
And it is addictive.
Sure, yeah.
It's super addictive.
Did you try to get out for a while? Like, did you want to get out for a while?
I wanted to, but I had so much guilt. I felt so guilty for so long. And
well, regardless, like breaking up with somebody that you still care about is horrible.
Horrible.
Even if you're like, this is 100% the best decision for me, for him, it's horrendous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A nightmare.
Yeah. Like it's almost easy to break up with someone when you're like, dude, this person sucks. They're not treating me right. Like,
yes,
I'm not going to miss them because I don't need that in my life.
Well, do you want to know what happened? Like 6 months into our relationship, I was begging for him to make a big mistake.
Yeah.
I was begging for him to be talking to other girls, for him to, do something that just destroyed me.
Yeah.
Because I wanted a way out.
Flag, gentlemen. Yeah. When she starts to give you permission to make horrible mistakes. And so
she can leave you and not feel guilty about it.
Right.
Well, and that feels, and like but that's the thing is like, I can say all that now, but in the moment I had no idea.
Yeah.
I just knew that breaking up with him would make me feel like the worst human on the planet.
Yeah.
Right. Because I was so worried. And this is something I've had to check myself on is like my ego too. And be like, who am I to think that I'm the one who is going to save this person and help them?
Yeah.
And why do I feel this sick pleasure from like helping him get out of his suffering?
Yeah.
Right. And I think that it was all selfish. It was that
Munchausen syndrome.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's just as long as you're in pain, then I'm not, or I don't have to show you it. But what's funny is that by the end of the relationship, I was begging to be seen and I was begging to share my pain with him.
Yeah.
And when I finally did, he wasn't there to emotionally support me. He couldn't because he didn't know how. That wasn't our relationship.
Yeah.
I was never the one hurt. I was never the one struggling.
Yeah.
So I was resenting him for not showing up for me.
You were never like fully yourself with him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, never.
And that's such a hell to be in.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so many relationships where people, they just kind of hide little parts of them. And like, that's pretty standard in the beginning stages of relationships.
Right.
But I think you get to a point where you're like, if I can't be all in, if I can't be all me, like I gotta go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The contrast between my ex and who I'm dating now, the relationship I'm in now, in a lot of ways, is so much harder than the one I was in. And it's harder for the right reasons, but it is extremely difficult.
Just because it's requiring more work.
Oh, yeah.
From both of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it just requires so much trust. And it's messy, raw, kind of gross trust sometimes.
Yeah.
We have so many awkward moments that we're like, we don't even know how to deal with this right now.
What do you mean?
Like situations where, maybe I'll say something because it's trauma from my ex, where I'll make a passive comment.
Yeah.
Right. An example is the other day, him and I had plans to go to dinner with his parents, and my mom had texted me and she was like, "Hey, do you want to go to dinner tonight? I'd love if your boyfriend came too."
Yeah.
And so I just sent her I sent him the screenshot of my mom's message.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What are your thoughts?" I didn't have any intention behind it.
Had he not met your parents yet?
He's met my parents.
Okay. Yeah. So it was just like, yo, you want to go to dinner?
Well, it was just like, hey, I know we have plans with your parents. My mom just texted me this though. Like, what are your thoughts? I kind of went in with game plan. What should we do?
Right. And
his response was like, "Oh, well, I know we had plans with my parents, but if you don't want to go, that's okay." And I'm like, "Well, why do you think I don't want to go?"
Yeah.
And then we get in this whole passive argument when really it's like, okay, we misunderstood each other. And then we have to have the awkward conversation where we're like, "This is what I was thinking your intention was."
Yeah.
And then he can say, "Yeah, this is what I assumed your intention was." Right. And then we get together and we have to drop it. We have to drop our walls and say, "Well, I probably said that because in the past I haven't gotten this."
Yeah.
And he does the same. And then you're creating this symbiotic almost relationship where you're like, we can actually connect over some of the hardest things that we've been through in the past. Yeah. And it makes us stronger together. Right. But it's extremely difficult.
Yeah. And I think you guys are at the point where, you've been dating 4 or 5 months or something. You guys are at that point where there's still kind of a strong learning curve.
Right? Yes.
Because you're figuring out each other's communication styles, and you're figuring out okay, when she sends me a screenshot and a question mark,
what does that mean?
What's her, what is she getting at? Is she bugged? Is she trying to push her agenda? Right. But I heard, I'm a big Jordan Peterson fan.
Oh, same.
And he said if you want to have a happy relationship, you need to have 1,000 fights and then you don't have to have them anymore. Right. Yeah. Essentially, because you get them out of the way. And when I say fight, it's these little come to Jesus moments where it's okay, dude, this is so silly, but I don't want to be upset about a text.
Yes.
You know? I don't want to be upset because you thought this and I thought this, but really you thought this and I thought this, So let's get this fight out of the way and then we don't have to have it anymore, And sometimes you might have to kind of revisit it because you're okay, we didn't fully get into this, why this bugs me. We didn't fully get into why I kind of threw it on you, but then I think you can move on. And so these first few months, if you're both open to it, depending on how different you are too, I think there can be a lot of disagreements and fights and struggle. But I think if you can kind of ride that wave, you can kind of enter this really great spot where you, of course, have disagreements, but you understand, okay, this is who Abby is. We've established this. It doesn't bug me anymore because I love her so much. That's just part of how she walks around in the world. And we've already investigated why. We've already investigated how to approach this as a team. So it's just a non-issue anymore, And I feel like that's how you get with your closest best friends, right? But there's less walls because you're not as insecure with a friend, You're not dealing with like, I wonder what they think about my body. And I wonder like if they're truly happy with me.
Right.
You're just like happy to spend time together, but you still have these little fights. You figure out how to be each other's person, but the stakes aren't as high, it feels like, you know?
Yeah, that's so true. There's such a deep acceptance, I think, in relationships, not only romantic, but with probably anyone that you meet, that you want to get closer than, oh, I saw them here and know them from this.
Yeah.
If you want to know someone deep down, there's not only is there going to be an acceptance of them, but then there's an acceptance of yourself.
Yeah.
You have to be able to look in the mirror and accept yourself so fully, so that when those situations come up where you may get into a little argument, you may see something differently, you may miscommunicate.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you can face yourself and be aware of, I'm not the best at that.
Yeah.
I really am not.
Yeah.
And then trust that the other person is like, I know you're not.
Yeah.
But I love you anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I had a friend, she's still my friend. One of my friends,
we was intense.
Yeah, presently we're still friends. I lived with her right after my freshman year in college. So I was a sophomore in college. I had just kind of gotten through like my crazy phase. Like every person, I think, every freshman year can be a little crazy. But she's 4 years older than me, 4 years older. And when I lived with her, I learned so much about relationships.
Yeah.
And she taught me about relationships through our relationship. She called me out so much.
Yeah.
She brought me down from my pedestal so many times.
Yeah.
And most importantly, she taught me about myself. Those are the best friends to have, are the ones who remind you of who you are deep inside.
Yeah. And the real ones you can actually have those conversations with.
Oh, yeah.
You can be like, bro, what are you doing? Like, you're way off here.
Yes.
Like, let's help you.
Right.
Well,
because it never comes out of a place of judgment.
Yeah. It's funny. I have a good friend, and he has the worst fashion sense. His clothes are horrible.
Oh,
okay.
Does he know who he is?
He knows this because I've told him.
Okay.
But my point is, like, so we became really close after he was going through a divorce. He was in a really bad spot, and we just connected and kind of had a lot of deep talks and just kind of bonded. And I realized how like open and vulnerable he was, and he was wanting to get back in the dating game and stuff. And I'm like, bro, like, I don't care. It doesn't bug me, but this is an issue. These shoes got to go. These pants got to go. It's all bad. And the funny thing is, he was so like, dude, you're right. You're right. I just don't know if I care enough to change. And I'm like, well, that's fine. Like, if you're open to it, we'll go shopping. We'll fix this problem, because I think it's a problem.
Yeah.
But and if you feel like, man, I'm not getting the looks I want on the dating apps, or I'm not getting the girls I want, I was like, I got some possible solutions.
Right. I think I may know what you
girls care about this a lot. But if you don't care, it's
Yeah.
not on your radar, you don't want girls that care, great.
Awesome. Yeah.
But the thing is, you can't have that conversation with most people. It'll hurt their feelings, or they'll feel like, wow, dude, he doesn't like my clothes. He thinks I'm a loser or whatever. But he was just so open. And we just talk to each other like that. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm like, if my friends won't call me out, then I don't want them.
Yeah.
I know I have such a strong personality, and I am very stubborn. I'm hard-headed. There are times where it is my way or the highway.
Yeah.
Because I'm very convicted in myself.
Yeah.
Right. And that's probably years of, masking and defense mechanism and survival instinct, right? But the people that I love the most, people who are closest to me, are the ones who notice all of that, the survival mechanisms, defense mechanisms, and, all these things that I do. And they don't judge me for it, but they can see past it.
Yeah.
And they'll call me out on it, right?
Yeah.
They'll tell me about it.
Sure.
They'll
Yeah.
say, hey, did you know that you did that?
Yeah.
And I know that's not what you mean.
Did you know you didn't brush your teeth for a week? Did you know?
Did you know? Right.
Because I know.
And I love you for it. Right. But,
okay, let me kick a scenario your way.
Okay.
So this is another kind of like guys versus girls
question,
dilemma.
Perfect.
So me and a lot of my homies, we're kind of all like this. We're so close and we're so open with each other. You could even say to a fault, but I don't think so, right? but we often have these conversations where we're like, I wonder if girls could have this exact conversation we're having, because they are innately more sensitive and probably more insecure, right? For instance, we had this little get together and like went hot tubbing, and most of us are really tight, hang all the time. A couple guys are like from out of state, been married and hadn't seen them for a couple of years or whatever. So we get in the hot tub and this kid takes off his shirt and our buddy goes, bro, what happened? He gained like 20 or 30 pounds or something. And obviously like that language is way more like of a bro type of thing.
Yes.
I would never expect girls to talk like that. We tend to be more crass and more insensitive.
Sure.
And that kind of
can be pretty crass.
Sure. But like we tend to like be more like jabby at each other.
Yes.
Even when it's out of love. But it's funny because his response was, he's like, bro, I know. And my buddy's like, okay, well, what are we going to do? Like, are you like, are you just not, are you eating too much? Are you not exercising? And he's like, dude, I'm just like, I'm so busy with the kids and stuff. And like, I'm exercising a little bit, but I'm just like not counting my calories like I used to or whatever. And my buddy's like, well, let's make a game plan.
Like, let's figure it out.
He was like pissed. He's like, what are we doing here? And it's funny because then they like talked about this for like a half hour, and they like got to the root, and my buddy was finally like, yeah, dude, I just don't care right now. He's like, I obviously don't like being fat, but like, I just don't care enough right now to change. And my buddy's like, okay.
All right.
He's like, but I don't want to hear you complain about it then.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so my question is, because in the midst of this kind of like crazy conversation, I was like, I almost wish girls could have this level of verbal intimacy with each other, because I feel like girls are so insecure about their bodies, and for good reason,
it's the first thing that everyone sees.
Yeah. But I feel like, and I'm sure there are some girls that have close friends that they talk like that, but I feel like for the most part, it's almost like you would never tell a girl like, oh, looks like you kind of gained a little bit. Like, are you okay? Or
right.
Is it making you sad, or do you want to talk about it? Like, it's just kind of like, don't talk. Don't
bring it up.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? It's nuanced because there's a fine line between like, you don't want to body shame someone. You want someone to not feel bad about their body, but you also want to be like, hey, like, let me help motivate you if you want to change, if you want to exercise more or whatever. How do you find that balance?
I think that it's more so it's not that we wouldn't like the chance to talk openly about that to our friends, to anyone. Yeah. Right. But I think that societally, it's been happening forever that women are expected to be essentially perfect. Yeah. I don't think there's much room for error as a woman. Yeah. I think that, you say one rude thing and you're a bitch. You have more than one cupcake and you're suddenly, you have like, fat bitch. Yeah, you're a fat bitch. Like, you have an eating disorder. Then you eat one less cupcake you have an eating disorder.
Do you feel the same way just amongst girls?
With some girls.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it like this, it's such a bigger conversation than just, why can't girls talk about their bodies? It's what is socially ingrained in us that gives us this feeling that we have an expectation to uphold?
Yeah. And I totally agree with that. My question is, like, do you have any girlfriends that you could totally be like, hey, like, this kind of sucks. Like, I feel like I was looking a little better, like, last summer. Like, what do you think? Like, do you have anyone that you could really get into it with?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what I will say, it is, at least for me, I think it honestly kind of depends on the person.
Sure.
I think that if you have broken the chains of I need to be perfect because society tells me that I have to be perfect and my body needs to be this way. Once you kind of break those chains, I think you can talk about it to anybody.
Yeah.
I can talk about it to anybody. I feel like, you know, I have no problem being like, yeah, well, these jeans don't feel like they used to.
Yeah.
Right. I have no issue with that. But it's because my worth doesn't come from what you see externally.
Yeah.
My worth comes from what is inside me.
What if a girlfriend says, "Hey, those jeans don't fit you like they used to"?
If it was someone that I trusted, then I'd be like, "Girl, I know. I know." And then it would spark a conversation. Yeah. I'm sure it would.
I love to hear that though.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that is kind of rare. Like,
I think it comes from a place of deep confidence and then deep trust with someone. I mean, it also depends on who's saying it.
Yeah.
Because if my mom made that comment, if my mom said,
now we got to go back to therapy.
Hey, you're, you know, I don't know if you should be wearing a small anymore. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Sounds good. And that's only because, and again, I think it comes back to this like root problem, which is like men, I think it's funny to break it down this way because I've never really thought of it like this, but I think that men, like, there's this like, it's this testosterone. It's like this like need to feel like strong and protective and in shape. Right. Yeah. And so a lot of the emphasis on male, you know, characteristics is just kind of this like, it is about the body. It is about the strength. It is about the form and the ability, right? With a woman, the conversation is different. It's more about like her beauty,
her femininity,
mystery, femininity. I can't even say that. And then like maybe charisma a little bit, like body, charisma, personality. Yeah. You know, how blonde their hair is.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. But I think that the conversation may be more open from the male perspective because like you do spend most of your time, probably not all, because I don't want to overgeneralize, but men spend a lot of their time thinking about that protectiveness and it's instinctual. Yeah. It's in their DNA. And women spend a lot of their time thinking probably more emotionally and intuitively. Yeah. And so, yes, we are going to have more sensitivities about our body, and men probably won't because they spend most of their time being defined by that. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Totally.
And I think like there is a huge shift going on right now where we are all talking about body positivity, male or female, and kind of like, especially with like everything going on in the world with, you know, transgender, people finding different ways to express themselves, right? That conversation then changes to, we're all just humans.
Yeah.
You know? And regardless of who you are, who you represent yourself as, you need to find some kind of confidence in yourself and worth beyond the physical body.
Yeah.
You know? I would ask if any girl I was talking to got offended or had some issue, I would be like, well, why do you think that's what makes you, you know, divine?
Why are you so affected by that, you know?
Yeah. Well, just like I live so fully by this, I call it the 3 planes of existence, and it's body, mind, and soul. Always. There are 3 levels, and I will be affected in all 3 realms all the time.
Yeah.
Always. But I need to figure out where it's affecting me. You know, I mean, even the other day I was looking in the mirror and I was like, dang, I probably should go on more runs. Right? I was like,
maybe this mirror isn't right. Maybe this needs to be calibrated.
Yeah. No, I was like, dang, like, I don't know if this is just like my winter coat or, this is new. This wrinkle or this roll is new. But I think it's like more of like this, like, okay, well, that's a body thing.
Mm-hmm.
Easy.
Yeah.
No problem. But it's a body thing that is now turned into a mind thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was, okay, my body is minorly suffering in the physical realm.
Right.
Then my mind is then putting a label that's bad.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And then the divine in me, the soul in me is like, that's weird.
Yeah.
That's a weird correlation that you just made.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you need to attach a label to your body?
Yeah.
Nothing's good. Nothing's bad. Mm-hmm. It just is.
Yeah.
Right? And so then you find that worth in you. And then the other things become just a, how do I want to feel? Do I want to feel healthy and in shape? And, do I want my body to be capable and able?
Yeah. Yes.
Then I'm going to work out. And the byproduct of that is that your mind is healthy and that you're able to function in a better way.
Yeah.
Maybe you won't have such severe mood swings. You can regulate your nervous system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's just this deep worth that you got to find.
Yeah. I think I would agree across the board too. I think if you put kind of all of your self-worth into one thing, it's just a recipe for depression. Like,
yeah,
even if it's like, it's not just your body, but it's like your body and your career. What happens if you gain 10 pounds and lose your job? Like all of a sudden, you're nothing, you know? Like you have to have, for me at least, you have to have a lot of things that bring you joy and bring you fulfillment, or you're just, and I feel like you constantly have to be kind of shifting and maneuvering with that, because it's just hard to be happy. Like it's hard, it's hard to be happy. It's hard to feel fulfillment in things you do. And so if you put all of that into one thing, it's just a recipe to kind of feel yucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, something that we were talking about my faith crisis. Mm-hmm. That got me down this huge rabbit hole of like purpose.
Yeah.
I think, are you religious at all or? Okay. Yeah. I think there's like this idea of like purpose always. It's like, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to be? Why are we here and where are we going? Mm-hmm. Right. Yep. It's what everyone wants to know. And that messed me up for so long. Cause I'm like, oh my gosh, like everyone has a million different ways of seeing that, conceptualizing it, to make sense of it, to make themselves feel better about their present state of being. Mm-hmm. And what I realized is if there is a purpose to life that we can know for sure, without a doubt, it's to find balance in your life.
Yeah.
It is to be a, semi-regulated person where you're not investing too much into just one thing.
Right.
We see it in relationships all the time. Mm-hmm. If you invest too much of your time in this person, then you're going to completely lose out on yourself and your own journey, and you're going to forget who you are.
Yeah.
If you put so much into yourself in a relationship, then you're not giving anything to the other person.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. There's like this weird, it's what is it called? Like anxious attachment.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of like that. And so I think about like in my life, like what are the things that I strongly identify with and need to feel a sense of purpose or make my world go round. Mm-hmm. And what I tell myself is like, if I could not go a day without that thing or without knowing that, then I'm putting too much into it.
Yeah.
Like my body, if I'm going to the gym every single day and it's all that matters to me, what's going to happen if I can't work out one day?
Yeah.
I will be a wreck.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's with everything. I think it's moderation in all things.
Yeah, but I think you can also I think you can go to the gym 7 days a week, but you change your mindset and your focus to, hey, this is something I enjoy doing.
Right.
It's making me happy, but I don't find all my self-worth here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I can do this and be fully in, but I can also not feel guilty about scaling back or changing my routine or whatever.
Absolutely.
But for now, like I'm all in.
Yeah.
Because I have fitness goals or whatever.
Right. Totally.
And like, I think when people talk about balance, I think the important thing to remember is like, yeah, it's good to have lots of interests and balances, but like right now, I don't want to be balanced. I want to be fully into this podcast episode.
Right.
You know, I want this to be the only thing I care about right now. And that's about, you know, being present and being mindful.
Oh yeah.
And I think
absolutely
it's hard because people love the idea of being balanced, but a lot of times they're not fully in what they're doing because they're thinking about other stuff and they're focused on other stuff.
I think that presence in general is a balance. I mean, I think if you are feeling present and you are feeling, you know, tuned in to what you're doing, then you aren't out of balance.
Right, right.
Because technically, your mind is doing exactly what it's meant to do. You know, right now, you and I, we're communicating with each other. We're using our brain to create neural synapses to make our vocal cord. Our brain in our hands. Yep, mind, hands. You know, and then the body's doing what it needs to do, and then inside, like our hearts are in the right place and our souls are speaking, right? And I think that's the presence really is the best way to unlock those three planes of existence: the mind, body, spirit. It's if you can find balance in everything you do, where you're balancing like kind of that rhythm where you're like, dang, like this is exactly what I'm meant to do. Yeah. Is to just be here. Yeah. And right now.
I'll tell you what, it's one of the most, like you talked about, one of the most attractive things is when someone's just fully hearing you and fully listening. It's the same thing with when you have somebody that's so present, you can just feel like, man, they're so here with me right now. Like I don't need to convince them of anything. I don't need to manipulate the situation. They're just freaking here.
Oh yeah.
You know, they're not on their phone. They're not like kind of wandering, and they're just here with me. And it's an art. Like it's hard to do, especially like in these days, there's so many distractions. There's so many like reasons to not be present. But like my all-time favorite people are insanely present. You know, like when I'm spending time with them, that's all there is. Yeah. You know, and you can tell they like want to hear what I have to say, and they're earnestly asking me questions, and they're just so genuine about that time. And it just feels so different than somebody that's kind of like they're there, but they're kind of like not really there.
Do you find yourself being, because you are a very present person? I know you are because I am.
I don't know. Right? I'm trying. Yeah.
No, I think you are. I think I don't know how to word this the best way, but like, does being someone who searches for present people, can you tell very easily when someone is definitely not in the moment with you?
Yeah, totally.
And you have like a hypersensitive, almost radar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. I think so. And I think sometimes you have to understand that it's not personal. It's just they're not good at being present. Yeah. You know? And it's not that they don't want to be present with you. It's that they're not good at being present with anybody. Yeah. Yeah. And so you have to kind of delineate and be like, okay, like that kind of sucks, but that's kind of that's as far as they've gotten on that evolution. Yeah. Right. Yes. But to tell you the truth, like with myself, even I try to always be present, but I can tell myself, I can feel myself being less present when I'm not that invested in the person I'm with. Yeah. Right. When it's like a first date and it's just not going great. Like I'm still like not like on my phone and totally distracted. Right. But I just don't really care that much anymore. You know?
Well, you're not trying to connect anymore. Yeah. It's just
whereas like when I'm with a girl that like we've been talking for like 2 weeks and I'm super into her, like I'm so dialed in, like I don't care about anything else. Yeah. Right. But yeah, and I feel bad when I can kind of feel it in myself, and I kind
Yeah.
of feel I'm like, oh, I'm leaving now.
Where am I going?
Like,
what's going on?
like, dude,
Oh yeah.
my friend said the funniest thing the other day, and he gave no further explanation, and it meant the world to me. He said, he was telling me about some girl. He's like, he really liked her when they were in high school and they dated a bit, and then he went on a mission and he came back, and I was like, oh, well, did you talk after the mission? And he's like, this is all he said. He goes, well, we went out once, but I wasn't there. That's all he said.
Ain't that the truth?
and I knew exactly what he meant, but I loved that response. Yeah, like we went out, but I wasn't there.
You know what's even worse?
I did, like, where were you?
No, you know what's even worse? For your girlfriends to be like, hey, what'd you do last night?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, I stayed at, Tommy's house last night.
Yeah,
They're like, dude, how was it?
Yeah.
It was good, but I wasn't there.
Yeah, I was.
That's even worse.
Oh yeah, I was somewhere else.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah. Do you like The Notebook?
I love The Notebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
So me and my buddies were watching it the other day. Such a masculine activity. We're watching it the other day, and
it is. Ryan Gosling will teach you so much about masculinity.
He's taught me so much about everything.
Oh yeah.
But you know where Noah, he's in the bed with Martha. Okay. And Martha,
the old one, the other one. Got it. Martha.
She's not
the
that
other
old.
one.
But
the older one.
It's this really interesting dynamic where Martha's a wonderful chick. She's attractive, she's got a lot going for her, but he's not really there, right? And it has nothing to do with her. He's just not there. And me and my buddies talked about how we all have had Marthas in our life, right? And it's like, I feel bad for sweet Martha, but it's like, it's not even a conscious like, oh, this chick's just a rebound. But it's like, I'm hanging out with this girl. I want to like her. I'm just not there. Like, I'm thinking about my ex. I'm thinking about the girl that actually hurt me. And I'm trying to get her out of my brain. I'm trying to date. But this girl will only ever be Martha to me.
Right.
And it sucks.
What's the other girl's name again?
Allie.
Allie. Yeah. Find your Allie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, man, that is such a, I really relate to that, especially right now. Like in my last relationship, I know I was not there.
Yeah.
Right. And that was fine with me.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be there.
Right.
There's times where we put ourselves through situations like that because it's better than being lonely.
100%. And
I'd rather have a Martha any day than have to do my favorite activities by myself.
Martha's terrific. And Martha also still makes you feel loved, still makes you feel seen.
Yeah.
It's just not it's not all that you're looking for.
Right.
And it's not only loneliness, but it's the idea of, oh, I got to go back to square one.
Yeah.
And I got to go put myself out there and go on first dates.
Oh.
This person at least already likes me. They already accept me.
Yeah.
They already think I'm cool for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know what
this
it
works.
is. Yeah.
And I wouldn't even say too that like, because there's been people that I've dated that I'm like, they are so cool. They're so awesome.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
Yeah.
So cool. And it has nothing to do with like, oh, they aren't attractive and they aren't amazing. It's like, like every time I've left that situation, I've been like, you're going to be amazing for someone else.
Oh, I hate to hear that.
No, it's the worst.
No, it's awful.
Especially when you're the one leaving.
Yeah.
Because you want you want them to be your person so badly. When I left my ex, I wanted him to be the one so bad.
Yeah.
I begged for it.
Right.
Every night I cried over it.
Yeah.
Like that was all I wanted. Please, 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 please be the one for me.
Yeah.
But what was lacking was presence. Presence with each other, presence with the relationship, presence with, just our individual selves.
Yeah.
That like we couldn't share the present moment together in the way that it really mattered.
Don't you wish when you got broken up with that you could get like a full, honest, like essay of why they didn't want to be with you?
You know what's weird? I wrote my ex a full, honest essay.
Really?
Oh yeah. And it was like hurtful.
Yeah.
I'm sure to him.
What compelled you to do this? Were you trying to help him get closure, or for you?
It was for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I was like, oh, like he deserves the truth. He deserves the why.
Yeah.
Right. It was so much more about me.
Mm.
And I felt this guilt. Like I was like, there's no.
Did you feel like you couldn't explain it all like in person, like when you ended it?
No. He was a very, I think just because of his past, just very dismissive, like very like, I can't deal with that right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't want to talk about it, you know? And so that was kind of, I mean, I think it was half and half, you know. I wanted him to know the reason why. I wanted the chance to, it's funny now, I wanted the chance to feel seen and understood still. Even after the relationship, I still wanted him to see me.
Yeah.
And you know what he did? I wrote him that letter, and when I moved all my stuff out,
you wrote him a physical letter?
Oh, it was a 5-page handwritten letter.
Wow, cursive?
No, like so that he could read it. I was like, I wrote very clean, very nice, just so that to make sure, you know, and I folded it up and put it on the table, like his name with a heart. Yeah. Because when I left him, I was still very in love with him.
Yeah, yeah.
And
that letter would have killed me.
Oh, I know.
It would have destroyed my soul.
So,
but I would have been kind of grateful for it.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, again, like that was kind of what I was thinking is like, this was, he had went to work and I moved out all my stuff when he was at work. Yeah. He knew we were breaking up. Like he knew the situation, but I had to go. I had to just get out. So I left the note I sat in the house. I sat in our house, in our home that we had, you know, completely created together.
Yeah, yeah.
Every decision in that home was a joint decision, right? So I sat in there and I took a couple hours and I just wrote everything that came to mind, every single thought and feeling that I had, everything that he needed to know.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was like, here's the truth about what I feel about you.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like, I feel like you suffer so much more than any other person. I feel like you feel a very deep pain all the time.
Yeah.
And I need you to get help.
Yeah, yeah.
You got to figure that out.
Yeah.
Because I can't be here for that. And I've tried, but I can't. Right. So it was kind of along the lines of that. It was so brutally honest. And anyway, finished it and I left. And then like a couple days later, he texted me because we still had to coordinate moving stuff, but he texted me and he was like, hey, there's a bag of your stuff outside the door. You're going to have to come get it. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm sure I forgot something. Yeah. Right. So I go over there, pick up the bag, and in the bag is the letter.
He's like, I don't want this.
And he texted me and he was like, I didn't even read it.
Wow. Wow. Well, that tells you everything you need to know.
I know.
Right?
Yeah, it did.
That's crazy.
That was crushing though.
Yeah, I could, gosh, not a million years could I not know the contents of something
that was my thing is I'm like, how could you not know?
Yeah. But yeah, that goes to show kind of how dismissive he was and didn't want to deal with those emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what it came down to ultimately.
I'd kill for a letter.
Oh, gosh. A reason.
Yeah. I'm going to put my address in the show notes. So.
Yeah. Can you tell me why you left me? Please?
Yeah. I'm naming names too. you know who you are. But in case you forgot,
please write me a goddamn letter.
Yeah, I got an empty mailbox.
Oh, but I almost wonder now because I kept the letter and I've read it back, and I wonder now like, now that I'm away from the emotions of it and I'm away from the intensity of it, like I wonder if he even felt like that deeply about it anyway.
Right.
I'm also, sure he did, but
there's a chance he read it and lied.
Oh, there's a chance.
You know?
But I'm kind of like, so you read it once and that was it. And they I don't know. I think that it was, what's funny, and I think this tends to happen a lot, right? If you are if you're a very dramatic and romantic person, you need to date someone who's logical. Because if you date someone just like you, you will light the whole damn house on fire. Because you both will be so like, well, I wrote him a letter and then he gave it back because he still wants me. And he tried to, get me back because that. And like, I think him and I both knew that. We played these games with each other. These like toxic, like romantic, like gestures to try and connect with each other. When really what we should have done is just sat down and had a conversation.
Yeah, heaven forbid.
Heaven forbid. You just talk to your partner and you figure it out together. And now I'm dating someone who's very logical. And so I get in my like whole like, oh my gosh, but you're the only one for me. And he's like,
let's see. Let's wait.
Well, let's just deal with the emotion. Yeah. Let's deal with the situation. And we're gonna be okay.
Yeah, it's fun. I think I really try to be both. I really try to like
that's funny.
Like I've been with girls that like it's in the early stages and we're not even exclusive yet, but we're spending a lot of time together. And they're like, oh my gosh, we should do we should go to Europe this summer. And I'm like, yo, maybe. Like I would love to, but you might not like me in 3 weeks.
Yes.
And that's a hard conversation to have.
That always the conversation you have with someone you're talking to. Like every talking stage, you talk about going to Europe together. You talk about what you're going to name your kids.
I
you
think
like make all these grand plans.
Maybe I'm jaded because I feel like I'm a really romantic person. Like this.
You've been hurt too many times.
Sure. But like this person I'm talking about specifically, like I don't even think it was Europe, but she was talking about, oh, let's go here, let's go here.
Trip.
And I'm like, I would 100% go on these trips, but I'm worried we're not going to make it that far. So let's pump the brakes. So like the romantic in me is like, yeah. Let's book these tickets.
How cool.
The logical person is like, there's a chance your emotional recklessness is going to get me decapitated here. So
guillotine.
Let's chill. And then when we're ready, I'll go to the ends of the earth with you.
Sure.
I'll go to the jungles of Vietnam. I don't care. But
the devil and angel,
Yeah.
Do it, don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. How do you find yourself balancing like being overly emotional? And I'm not saying that you are. I'm just saying like, okay. Good read.
Yeah.
But like being overly emotional and then being vulnerable. Because this is the thing I struggle with everyone is I think I tend to overshare when really I'm like, I want to connect with you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you how I'm feeling always. But then you run into some situations where it's like, they probably didn't need to know that.
Yeah.
Even though I want to connect with them. Like, how do you...
That's a good question. I feel like for me, I don't believe in oversharing.
Well, there you go.
I don't
either. Really.
I don't think it's a thing. And I think when people are like, TMI, I'm like...
I hate that so much.
I'm like, no.
Tell me more, TMS.
Yeah, like if it's funny, I was texting this this guy that's like one of my church leaders, right?
Okay.
And he's like 55.
Got it. Yeah.
And we were just kind of texting casually, and he's like, yeah, me and my wife are going to Hawaii or whatever. And I was like, thanks for the invite, And he's like, well, we want to be alone or whatever. And then he's like, oh, sorry, dude, TMI. And I was like, I literally said to him, never TMI.
Yeah. Like what? Like that's like a normal human thing to...
Right. But he was kind of like tongue in cheek, like, no, like, because he recently got remarried, and he's like, we want to spend some time alone in the hotel room. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm not a child.
Yeah, of course you do. What do you mean?
But yeah, people get so uncomfy sharing things. But that was
why do you think that is? Like, what do you think has driven like humans?
I think so much of it is the culture that you're brought up in.
Okay.
And then the people you surround yourself by.
Like this like hush hush mentality about
but
emotion.
Not even hush hush, but just like how comfortable are you talking about stuff? And it's not because it's forbidden or taboo, but sometimes just people's personalities just not comfortable. So back to your original question, for me, like probably similar to you, like I'll tell anyone anything, right?
Sure.
I'll get vulnerable, I'll get weird with anyone.
Oh yeah.
But I don't like to unless I feel like there's an earnestness behind their inquiries.
Yeah.
Right? So like,
or that they're going to like find value in it.
Yeah. And so like even on like first dates or first interactions with people, if they ask me stuff, it may seem like maybe I'm a little guarded, like I have a wall up, but it's because I'm kind of testing them to see like, are these genuine questions or are you just kind of asking me for fun?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you ever get somebody that like you don't know at all and they're like, tell me your biggest fear. Like almost like a trivia question.
Sure.
And I'm like, dude, I'll get into it with you, but I don't think you really want to know like the depths of my soul. You just want a fun answer.
Right.
You know?
That's I know, because if someone says, what's your biggest fear? I'm like, oh, we about to get talking.
I'm like, let's go to dinner.
Right. Yeah,
you know?
Like, we need at least 3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I love podcasting, because I'm like, I really struggle with small talk.
Yeah.
And I mean, a certain amount of it you have to have in day-to-day life.
Right.
But if I really want to get into something, I'd feel like I need time.
Yeah.
You know? And so yeah, I always tell people like, I'm happy to get into anything with anyone, but I just need to feel like it's not even me feeling safe. It's almost like me just not wanting to waste my breath. Like I don't want to unpack something that's emotionally heavy if somebody doesn't really care.
Yeah.
You know? So I've had girls that have been like, "Oh, you're like, I thought you'd be more open." And I'd be like, I thought I would
like
too.
You more.
Yeah, I thought I'd like you more. I don't. So thus, I'm not so open.
I'm not gonna open. Yeah.
You know?
Well, I like that you brought up time, because I think that above anything else, like time is the most valuable thing you can give someone, because we have a limited time alive. And, you know, it's overlooked so much, the value of time.
Yeah.
Really. And I think about like my closest relationships and the people that I genuinely want to get to know the most, and I want to connect with, and I want to give them the depths of my soul.
Yeah.
The common factor in all those relationships is time.
Yeah.
People say like, oh, is quality time your love language? I'm like, that's not a love language. That is real connection and genuine interest.
Yeah.
It's not, how are you supposed to get to know someone if you are not investing time?
It's hard, because I think because I view it the same way, but I assume you're fairly extroverted.
Yeah.
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 I feel like introverted people have a harder time with that philosophy.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're like, yeah, but I need my alone time too. And I need like just being with other people, although it's good, that's not where I derive joy and energy necessarily.
Right.
Like I dated this girl for a while, and that was a big reason why we didn't work out. We were just so different. But she was very introverted and I'm very extroverted. And yeah, I want all the quality time in the world. I want to see you every day. And I'm not like, I'm happy, like, if you want to go on a trip, go on a trip. But I just want to see you as much as possible. Yeah. Because I'm obsessed with you. I think you're great. You know? Like, I'm not going to date someone I'm not crazy about.
Oh, yeah. No. You know? Why would you?
And she always loved our time together, but it seemed like time to her wasn't important. It was like, when we're together, amazing. But when we're apart, whatever, I'm doing my own thing.
You know what? I will say something about that. I am an extrovert, but I have an introverted.
You have tendencies.
Yeah. And that tendency is, this is the difference for me, is I think that you can be an extrovert or you can be an introvert, whatever. But it's more about like, you should set intention in both, like that presence, you know, it actually comes down to that. So what I've realized and what I've just kind of created in my own life is that when I'm by myself, that time is dedicated to me, which means I'm not really going to text anyone. I'm not going to, be on like a phone call with my girls. Like I'm not going to.
It's alone time.
It is alone time.
Are you in a bath? What are you doing?
I don't know. It's like cleaning my room. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm like recording content. Maybe I'm, reading.
Mm-hmm.
I'm meditating. Eating like shit. I don't know. Like it doesn't all have to be good. It can just be like, I am by myself right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the intention. And then that's the presence, because you actually get more from that than just being alone.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the same with other people. It's if I'm going to be with people and I'm going to be extroverted, it's going to mean something. Yeah. I'm not just doing it to do it.
Right.
I'm going to do it because I really want to connect with this person. I'm in it to be here.
Right.
I think about that a lot in the relationship I'm in now, because we do see each other every single day.
Yeah. Is he extroverted as well?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But there are parameters on it.
Yeah.
There's like this, hey, if you can't meet up until 6, that's okay. Yeah. There's no pressure. There's no expectation. Yeah. It's just, let's just figure out what time, what does that look like?
Right. It's just nice when you both kind of want to see each other the same amount.
Well, that's the first step.
Heaven forbid. That's like the crux of all dating. It's like, I want to see her. She doesn't want to see me.
But I was going to say, I think that what it is, though, is it's not even about like, because if you are dating someone and it's in the early stages and you're both interested in them, or you're both interested in each other, I think that it's, and maybe she is spending a little bit more time alone, or it just doesn't feel that way. Yeah. Then maybe it's like, okay, hey, I can tell that alone time is valuable to you. Yeah. Is there any way, just for the sake of me, I want to give you that alone time, right? Acceptance first, allowance first. Yeah. I want you to have that. More than anything, I want you to have your time by yourself. Because I know that if you get that, then I get you. Right. Your best, healthiest, most unstressed self as an introvert, right? So I want to give you that time. But if you could just let me know what that timeline looks like, then we'll be in a good spot. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And I think a lot of relationships tend to get messy in that area, that arena. Yeah. Because it's like, it comes off like, well, you don't want to see me? And they're like, well, why do you think I don't want to see you? Yeah. And then they already probably feel a little bit of shame that they're an introvert. Yeah. They probably already feel bad a little bit.
I'm just kidding.
Extroverted till I die. But it's like, I think it's like being an introverted, I feel like someone who's introverted, it may be like a little sensitive that they are introverted. They're like, well, I don't really like to go out. Yeah. And that's not okay to some people. Yeah. Right? So if you want to date an introvert, you got to make it okay for them to be introverted.
I don't want to date an introvert.
Or don't date an introvert.
Yeah. I just happened to meet someone and happened to really like her. But yeah, it's funny. I was willing, and we ultimately had other incompatibilities, but yeah, I was totally willing to like be like, this is not ideal. This kind of sucks. But like I'm fine. I can deal.
Sure.
But I would like with an extrovert, it's just so much easier because we just view so many things the same way.
The same.
Whereas I have a hard time understanding an introvert, and likewise, they have a hard time understanding me. Yeah. Like, why do we need to go to this thing? We just went to one yesterday.
And you're like, yeah, well. Yeah. Well, it's actually, that's funny about it too, because like there's gonna be allowances that you have to give in every relationship.
Sure. Yeah.
We started off this episode talking about like acceptance, in relationships and friendships. And like, I think something that I've found out about myself and the relationships I want is I want to surround myself with people who have similar values to me. Yeah. Yeah. And the values are, do you value time, spending time with me, right? Do you value faith or believing in something bigger than yourself? Yeah, yeah. Do you value family? Do you value honesty? Do you value whatever, art, literature? It doesn't matter. Right. But it's like, if you can find someone or people in general that share similar values to you, you're not going to go too far wrong with them. Yeah. You really won't. All the bad relationships I've been in, all the terrible ones I've been in, have been because our values did not line up. Yeah, yeah. And we were like trying to make it work. Yeah. We're trying to fit keys inside the locks that just wouldn't work. You're like, well, maybe we don't have to open that door. Well, you're going to have to.
Okay.
Eventually you're going to have to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so hard because there's certain people that for whatever reason, you just get along so well and your chemistry is off the charts and nothing else aligns, right? Your values are out of whack. You're like, there's so many things that you're like, we would not be good together. We would not raise a good family together.
We will not make each other happy.
Like you said, we will burn the house down.
We will.
But it's so much fun. Like,
oh yeah.
And then you're like, you compare like other people that the values line up and you're like, I'm just bored over there, you know?
This is such a good topic. I'm so happy you said that. That was the main thing that I complained about in this new relationship.
Yeah.
Every single day, I'd call my mom. I'd be like, Mom, I'm so bored. I'm so bored with this guy.
Yeah.
And my mom just kept saying over and over to me, this is what you need. This is what you need. It's what you need. It's what you need.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, like why? It's not exciting. Yeah. It's not lighting my soul up. It's not, I don't feel this like spark and electricity between us.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to.
Yeah, because he's treating you well. Heaven forbid.
Because holy shit, he is providing stability and peace.
Yeah, there's no chaos.
And it's not chaotic.
Yeah.
We are chaotic enough in ourselves, we are chaotic enough.
We don't need any help.
We don't need more chaos in our relationship.
Yeah.
Like life is already hard enough. It's already chaotic enough.
Yeah.
When you want to find a partner, you want to find someone who is going to settle you into the slow river. You want someone who can lay you down on the pillow of dove feathers, right? You need someone who can be the strong, silent warrior by your side.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's what you want in a partner. You don't want someone who is like every day it's something different and it's crazy and you can't read their mind and they're mysterious forever.
Right.
Sorry, newsflash. You will not be with someone who's mysterious forever.
Right.
Eventually, you're going to have to find this acceptance, this allowance, this like, they work for me. Our values line up. It may not be exciting every day, but they bring me peace.
And the cool thing to realize, I think, is that if you're bored, there's probably one of two issues. One, they could just be a boring person. Maybe,
sure, yeah,
maybe you're bored because it's a boring relationship. But more often than not, I think you're bored because you're not exploring. You're not digging into their soul. And so,
because I promise people aren't boring.
Right. Well, and like, it's so naive to think like, I just kind of know everything about my partner because you think you know everything about yourself.
Nope.
You don't know anything about yourself.
No.
And so how do you expect to know even more about your partner?
I agree.
Everyone is so complex. Like that's what's exciting about a relationship. And the opposite of boredom is like, I'm with this person that's constantly evolving. I'm evolving. And so every day I really am with a new person, even if they have all these same habits and rituals. Like if I'm willing to dig and like be a part of their evolution, it's not boring at all.
Yeah.
And it's so fun to like just, you have your whole life before you met this person. And then you're like, okay, now there's all these things I've already experienced, but now I can experience them freshly with you. And that's exciting, but to just be like, yeah, like, I don't know, we just kind of, we both go to work and then we come back and then we have dinner and then we watch a show and then we go to bed. Like,
and that's all.
That is boring. Right. But but if you're like, hey, yeah, we both have our jobs, we come home, we eat dinner, but we're digging into stuff. We're asking each other hard questions and we're planning for the future and we're planning fun adventures and dates. Like it doesn't have to be boring.
Yeah.
That's kind of on you, I think.
I think it's creation. I think you have the opportunity to create with someone else.
Yeah.
When you're in a healthy, vulnerable, giving and supporting relationship. Because I also think that there is a point where you have to be your pretty like authentic self with the person that you want to be with,
Yeah,
right? And if you're both equally in it and you both equally care, like you're going to have to be pretty raw and exposed with each other.
Yeah.
But then that allows for creation together. The purest kind of creation.
Yeah.
You know, I think that as much as, I mean, like if you want to know anything about life or about your emotional or anything, right? Look at how the world is built up around you. Like, look at how the seasons change. The season will go through a period of death, decay, and then rebirth, and then thrive, and then another death and decay. So will you.
Yeah.
Inside you will do that. And then you'll also do that in your relationships, right? Look at life in general, procreation, right? You have two completely raw and exposed beings and you create a child, right? Yeah. Like as real as that. That also happens within your emotional relationship. You get the opportunity to do that. It is everything we need to know about what's going on inside our head. We can find in our environment. Yeah. We can find in the building blocks of life. And it's so easy to forget about that. Yeah. It's so easy to be like, no one's ever felt this way before. Yeah. This doesn't make sense. Yeah. No, it makes sense. You just think you're the only person on the planet who has ever faced this or is going through it or is having this situation with your partner or with someone you're talking to or dating, right? It's like, no, there's a ton of reasons why you may not vibe with someone or why you may not work with someone. But I think it takes like a ridiculous amount of honesty and vulnerability and like this, hey, like I messed up. Yeah. So hard. Yeah. Will you still love me? Because I have a fear that you won't. Yeah. And I truly feel like I'm the most selfish person and I feel like I'm ruining your life and I feel like all these things, right? You have to be that. You got to be your darkest self with someone. Yeah. For them to be like, yeah, I know all that about you. Yeah. Yeah. And guess what? I don't care. Yeah. I don't care. Yeah. Even if you do make my life harder sometimes. Yeah, I don't care. Yeah.
Do you feel like you can like be talking to somebody for like 5 minutes and be like, get a vibe for how vulnerable they are?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I'll see like a couple in Walmart and they're just kind of like, they're just kind of moseying around.
Oh, like couples?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought you meant just like a random person.
I did.
No.
I did initially, then I switched.
Couples?
Yeah.
I don't know if this makes me like a psychotic, a narcissist, or egotistical.
Okay, it could be all of the above.
I don't know. It could be. It probably is. One of my favorite things is looking at couples and being like, I wonder what their deep emotional conversation looks like.
I like to just play happy or not happy.
Okay.
I'll see a couple and I'll be like, no chance they're happy.
No.
There's just no chance. They're bickering about licorice, you know?
My favorite thing, I was talking to my friend Jen about this in one of my podcast recordings. And it was like one of the best things to do is like online, you look at all these like influencer couples. Yeah. And you just wonder what their daily interactions are. Yeah. Like, hey, so we need to shoot that video. Right. Are you down to shoot it? Yeah. Yeah, well, you have to kiss me in it, so. Yeah. I know we haven't done that in a while. Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny. What do you think, like, to me, you feel like a very, you're just a very open person, I think.
Yeah, I'm open.
Have you ever found yourself using your openness as the wall? Where I'm going to show you this vulnerable side of me, but I'm also using it as a defense mechanism because I'm only showing you what I want to show you.
I guess I don't know that I would categorize it as such. I think it's just part of like, there's levels to vulnerability, right?
Right.
It's a spectrum. So like I can trust you and feel safe around you, but almost feel like you haven't quite earned this yet, right?
Mm.
Like this is something that I'll talk about with you like a little further down the road if we get down the road.
Sure.
But I don't know how often it's that calculated, right? I think sometimes you just share things and don't share other things, and you're like, I don't know why I shared that. But
what compelled me to do that?
But yeah, it's interesting. Like in podcasting, a lot of times, like if you ask me anything, I'll answer it. But I probably wouldn't have agreed to do this podcast or reached out to you had I not felt like, well, that's somebody we can get into whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, for sure.
I also, the other thing is, you don't know me well enough to ask me something that would be so deep and so personal and so
right.
you know.
It's like, what was it like when?
Yeah, you don't know my family. You don't, you know what I mean. And so it's like I feel like, how deep can you get with me? Like you can try,
Yes,
but I don't know, you know. And so,
yeah,
I don't know that I would use it as a defense mechanism. I think, I think naturally I just kind of have a feel for what I want to share with people.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I guess maybe in a way it still is a defense. It's just like it's like a subconscious, like because I think I asked you that question in hopes to like feel, because in my experience, like there have been times, at least just being who I am, I guess, and noticing things, like there's been times where like I know I'll want to connect with someone, but I use my vulnerability as like and it may not even really be calculated. Maybe it really is just like if I show them that I'm open here, then they're going to trust me. And I'm going to get them right where I want them.
Yeah.
But I don't have to share anything else because I don't want to.
Yeah.
Because there is a level where it's like, as much as I think I want to share everything with the right person, everyone has a threshold.
Yeah.
For what they're willing to give.
Right. And with dating is, I would say it's more calculated because I'm like, I don't want to share too much too soon.
Sure.
Not because I'm scared of what they'll think of me, but it's more like, it's just part of like, I want them to like want more. I want to have them being like, oh, I want them curious and I want them wanting more. Whereas, I don't want to give them on the first date a whole dissertation of my life, even if they're open-eared and ready to hear it. I want to kind of, have kind of, I think dating is kind of calculated apathy.
Yeah.
Right. It's not, it's like saying, okay, I'm not actually apathetic about this, but I need to kind of pump the brakes and not show all my cards.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like that's come naturally to you, or have you had to develop that guardship over your story?
Oh gosh. I think it's, I think naturally I'm a pretty open person, but it's definitely improved over the years and been something I've felt more. Here's the other thing. I'm way more confident and secure than I ever was.
Yeah.
And I, it was never big. I was never like deeply insecure and deeply unconfident, but just with age and time passing, like there's just not much I'm insecure about anymore. And so with that comes openness and comes vulnerability, because I'm like, there's not really much I have to share that makes me kind of feel bad. You know what I mean?
Makes me want to cry.
You want to get in the fetal position. Yeah.
Yeah, and be like, for sure.
Because you realize that when you're vulnerable with people, it's the easiest way to connect.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are scared to, because they like feel exposed and they feel like maybe they sound stupid or whatever. Because a lot of times you're sharing a vulnerable story. You're just telling someone like, yeah, here's the stupid thing I did. Here's how how clueless and delusional I was. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't learn anything from it.
Sure did.
Yep.
This is the 100th time I've made this mistake. So yeah, it's like certain things it's really easy to share, but other things you're like, well, that's kind of embarrassing. Like that's because I'm an idiot. you know, like,
Yeah.
okay, here's a great example.
Yeah.
Here's me being vulnerable. Okay. There's this girl, we dated for a little bit. She ended it. I'm devastated. Try to move on. Not doing a great job. And then we don't talk for like 6 months. Probably way more serious to me than it was to her. That's fine. We broke up very amicably. I don't even think she thinks we broke up. I think she thinks we just had a fling and it was over.
Drifted away.
And we don't talk for like 6 months. And then she texts me one night and says, "Hey, are you home?" My mind goes into a tailspin, right?
What?
I think the apocalypse is there.
God? Like,
is that you?
Yeah, right.
And I'll be the first to admit, I would get back with her tomorrow, right? So she texts me and I'm like, what's this?
Yeah,
and I'm like, yeah, I'm home. What's up? you know, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So she's like, I'm walking my dog. I'm in the neighborhood. I need a plastic bag. My dog pooped. And I'm like, okay.
A weird thing to...
I got plastic bags, but you're also like pretty close to your house, right? We live fairly close. You know, I'm still trying to get over you. You know I'm in emotional pain. You say you listen to my podcast still, which is mind-blowing to me. And so anyway, we talk for an hour and a half. My mind's exploding. Mind you, I have a date in like an hour with someone else.
Apollo 13. Sensitively.
I have a date with somebody else in like an hour.
Yes.
I wasn't there. I went to the date, wasn't there. No, I was.
So this girl walking her dog was your Allie. Yeah, you went on a date with Martha.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I see.
And of course, I have to assume this encounter means nothing, right?
Sure.
For my mental health.
Yeah.
For my preservation, I have to assume this means nothing. My brain won't allow me to think that, right? I got bad brain. But so here's the vulnerable part. So we start texting a little bit, and part of me is like, oh, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe something can spark up again. I can be patient. But so we get texting or whatever. She tells me this is like a few days later, she's sick. What do? I don't play it cool. I don't do anything I should do. I offer to bring her soup, right? Which, listen, in my head, I'm like, I want to show her like I'm a good guy, remind her that I'm a sweet guy. Also let her know, like, I'm not trying to just like get back together with you. I just care about you.
Yeah.
I want you to have your soup. Well, you need your soup.
As a human being.
Yeah, you need your soup.
Yeah, yes.
And no one else could get you this soup but me.
And no one else should but
me. Right.
Yeah.
And she even was a little resistant. She's like, no, I'm fine. Like, my brother could give me something. And I was like, you need soup. And it needs to be for me. And so, so I bring her soup. She was really sweet, really grateful. I just dropped it off, left her a little note, whatever. My point in this story is I was fairly embarrassed about the fact that I like got her soup. It's such a stupid small thing, but I think most of my friends are like, bro, what are you doing? Like, this girl wrecked you and now you're buying her soup.
Yeah.
You know?
Was it Harmon's, like the nice stuff?
That's private.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. No,
I depend on said soup.
I got caviar soup. No, I went to this Chinese restaurant that has really good like chicken noodle soup.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Which is probably even nicer.
The sweetest thing I could do. I got a Gatorade for goodness sake.
Yeah.
But yeah, all my friends, like I didn't tell any of my friends until like weeks later. Like it just kind of crept out of my mouth. I was like, oh, I'm so like maybe.
Yeah, so anyway, when I was over at Allie's house, I dropped them. They're like, what?
Like what? Like, cause I told a few people about her coming over.
Okay.
Now I'm telling the whole internet.
Yeah, here we are.
But I told a few people just because I'm like, I don't want to make a big deal out of it because it probably means nothing. And if she's listening, I know this.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not
Point made.
I'm not naive.
Message received, Allie.
I'm not naive, but my brain wants to conjure up other things, right? But yeah, I had a hard time sharing that extra part because I felt like it made me look kind of stupid, you know. So yeah, there are levels to vulnerability where with my close friends, I'll tell them anything in the world, but sometimes I'll tell them 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm not ready to like face being such an idiot, you know?
Well, I just want to backtrack real quick.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to backtrack because now that you're already in a vulnerable state.
Yeah. Oh, no. Okay.
Well, what about you bringing her soup is you being the idiot?
I think it's kind of simp energy.
Oh, okay. You're going to lose me here. Simp energy is what men use to feel dumb about being a good person.
I agree a lot of times, right? And I'm not saying this is necessarily simp energy. I'm fearful.
It's feeling.
Right. And
yeah, it's like near it.
Yeah, and okay. Simp is maybe the wrong word, but it's like you could make the argument with certain girls, maybe this girl, that the only way to win them back is to let them come to you, right? Because she's the one that ended it. She knows how I feel.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it was a moment of, I don't want to say a moment of weakness. I'm glad I did it. I thought it was a nice gesture.
Yeah.
But I also, like, since then haven't heard much from her. Like, so,
right.
So I don't think it did anything. You know?
It didn't. Sure.
Not that I thought it was going to be this magic elixir that changed.
A magic soup
that changed her mind about how she
with
feels
a
about
potion.
Me.
Yeah.
Freaking soup. But
well, I was just gonna say that I think just to put it in perspective, like the guy I'm dating now, you could say gives like mad simp energy.
But he's already got you.
Okay, but in the beginning, when he didn't have me, mad simp energy, and he's listening to this right now, I'm sure. There were times that I was like,
well, bro, chill.
But the thing is that now I've realized that like girls being weirded out by that, like, I want to do this for you, and no one else on the planet can do it besides me.
Yeah.
That it's not this like, oh, it makes the man weak and it makes him like obsessive and creepy or whatever. Yeah. It's like, no. It means he's devoted.
Right.
He's devoted.
Yeah.
Back in the olden days, I think about this, like men were walking miles to take a girl on a date. Yeah. Miles.
Right.
Are you serious? Going up, knocking on the door, had to meet the parents before. Yeah. Could only be with her for 2 hours before he dropped her. Like, are you serious?
Yeah, she better not bail if he's walking.
Oh, yeah. Like that's devotion.
Yeah.
And we as human beings in society in year 2024, we have gotten so like numb to this idea of devotion, right? Like, what does that actually look like? And sure, maybe like you have conflicting things, like maybe you aren't gonna like them or they aren't gonna like you or whatever, right? It's a very easy thing to just be like, hey, I don't think it's gonna work out. Yeah, to be honest. Yeah, right. Her fault for even talking to you again. To be honest,
I mean,
it's just it was inappropriate on her part. My opinion.
I don't know that it's inappropriate. I think it's borderline
manipulative.
No. I think borderline emotionally reckless. Okay.
And maybe a little, she knows what she was going to get.
Soup?
No. Well, she knew what she was getting by coming back.
No, here's the thing.
To you.
I think she would love a perfect world where we could just be friends. Right. And I think I've expressed that I don't think that's possible.
Right.
But then I tried for a second and was like, immediately can't do this.
No.
Right. We went to lunch.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to die. You know, like,
yeah.
I can't even taste my food. I want to die. and so I think it's been enough time where she's like, well, maybe we can be friends now. And maybe, and this is the delusion creeping back into my mind, maybe that's the only chance we have is to be friends again and then see if something emerges, right?
Yeah.
And listen.
It's like the Wolf of Wall Street. We're not going to be friends, Jordan, you know?
Yeah.
Shout out Margot.
Yeah, I'm Margot in this scenario.
Like, come up to my house for some tea.
I'm always Margot. No, but, and I would be open to that avenue if I thought it was going to lead to prosperity.
Yeah.
I think it would lead to more and more heartache, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, like I said, I'm not naive. I just think she doesn't want to be with me. And I think she still just enjoys me and enjoys my company and wants, maybe even wishes she liked me more, right? And she's dealing with that. So I don't think it's manipulative. I don't think there's any malice there. I think she just, didn't consider, this might ruin Taylor's life for the next 3 months. but listen,
we've all been there.
You don't think I've done things like that?
Oh yeah.
Because in the moment I'm like, I just want to see this person.
Oh.
I don't think like, is this emotionally responsible? Is this like is me going to visit this person going to put them in the poorhouse? Just to make me feel better? Yeah. Like, I've done that so many times. And so I don't have any like ill feelings towards her. I'm just like, I almost wish that didn't happen because now I can't enjoy soup anymore. I'm just kidding.
I can never go to this restaurant. Well, I mean, of course, I think it's human nature, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
but I'm like, ultimately, I'm a little embarrassed by it, but I don't really regret it.
Yeah.
Because the truth is,
I was hoping to get out of you.
The truth is, like, I don't think you can simp out with the right person. Mm-hmm. Because I think that's the whole point. I think like I'm not the right person for her. But I think if she was the right person, there's no amount of soup that would turn her off. You know what I mean? And totally. I'm not saying, I don't think the deed of delivering soup actually did any damage.
Right.
I just think me being hopeful that it would spark something was the mistake. Right. And the part that's a little embarrassing, right? Because it's like,
but also it's like, who wouldn't, right? I mean,
she needed soup.
Yeah, are you serious? Yeah, logically, she needed soup. Needed soup.
I'm basically a doctor.
PhD, Taylor.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, like, I mean, just going off of that, like, when I broke up with my boyfriend and I left.
I'm sweating.
Oh, I know.
This story is making me sweat. It's not the room. Go ahead.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
But when I left, he texted me that night, and it was like 3 a.m, and he was like, "Hey, can you come back?"
Yeah.
He said that. He was like, "Hey, can you come back?"
Yeah.
I sat there. I was at my mom's, right? I like went to my mom's. Yeah. I sat there, car keys in hand, for like an hour.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What am I doing?"
Yeah.
But guess what? I got in the car and I drove to him 3 a.m, day after I moved out.
Yeah.
Went back. Don't know what I expected.
Yeah.
I don't know what he expected.
Right.
Right. And that night was the most painful I had ever experienced and that he had ever experienced.
Yeah.
And to me, it was this like, I think sometimes when things end like that, we need it to hurt one last time.
Yeah.
Because it reminds us of what we had.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Listen, when we initially ended things with this girl, she was out of the country and she didn't mean to do it, but we were just texting. I could feel like something was off. And so things kind of ended via text, right? And then I was like, yo, I want to talk in person when you get back. But I knew like she had made it very, very clear. I didn't need to go talk to her.
Yeah.
But I was like,
you like crave that.
I was like, yeah, I needed extreme closure, right? And and so I went over there and dude, I was there for like 2.5 hours. I was there for a whole lifetime. And I was crying a large portion of that time.
Yeah.
'Cause I get allergies in the summer.
Yeah, it's not because you were emotional or anything.
Yeah, I just
Ugh.
pollen.
Oh, my eyes are just dry, you know.
But also my soul was dying. But I don't know. That's not related. But yeah, we got into everything, and she was. I'll give her this. She showed me an amazing amount of grace, and like was really loving in tearing me down. You know?
Yeah. No, like the slow dagger.
Well, she let me ask anything I wanted and gave full answers, you know?
Yeah.
And
which is the kindest thing you can do.
Yeah. And I even at one point was like, you know, I'm like teared up, I'm snotty nosed, I'm in a bad way.
Allergies.
Freaking allergic to the situation. and I was like, okay, I'm gonna freaking go. Like I like this is embarrassing. I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I feel like you have more you want to say. And I was like, damn it.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I eked it out, you know?
Yeah.
But and as like painful as that was, it like if I didn't have a night like that, I would have gone crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I had a breakup that I received zero closure from.
Yeah.
It was actually when I was living with that friend who could call me out and everything, and after my freshman year or whatever. And it was like this guy was like a little older than me. He lived in the city. He like lived in this really cool like house, like avenue type vibes. Like his room was all decorated with plants and records, and he was like the cool guy, right? He was a barber, like in the city.
Yeah.
So cool, right? Super mature too, you know? And I was like, yeah, this guy's sick. Like huge crush on him, massive. And our relationship was like awesome. Like on my birthday, he made me dinner and like cooked this whole pasta thing and whatever, right? You're like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
And then one day he like shows up at my apartment and I'm like, yo, you want to go get food? He's like, actually, I think we should talk. I'm like, okay, you know,
I love to talk.
Sure. With my hands.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, sure. And he's like, I can't be with you. And just like that. Said that. It looked at me in the eyes too. It was like, I can't be with you. And I was like, okay. Like, okay. And he's like, I am having issues with myself and I can't figure it out and I can't be in a relationship.
Yeah.
And I need to tell you that. Yep. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Then he goes, I'm going to go. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, we did not talk. Ever again.
Wow. Yeah.
After like 4 months.
That's a long time.
Of like seeing each other, texting each other, you know, having this like fling.
Yeah.
And me thinking like, oh yeah, like this is my life now.
Right.
With this guy.
Yeah.
And then one day he's just like, it's over.
Right.
It's done.
Yeah.
What I will say though about that is that like, I think in your case, like having a night like that, right? Where it's like, it's gotta hurt one more time. Like it's gotta be that one more time. Like it was with my ex, you know? I think we both needed it. It sucked, but we needed it. There's other relationships though, that it's like, it's probably the best thing that guy ever did, his name was John. I can say his name now, but the best thing John ever did was that he just gave it to me so straight. And he's like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Over. Done.
Yeah.
I don't want to be with you. Right?
Yeah.
I cried about it for like 2 hours and then never thought about it again. I was like, well, that was crazy.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I was like, I genuinely hope the best. Like, I wish the best for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is as deep as it went.
Right.
I like, why can't all dating be that easy?
Oh man. Yeah. The reality is, like, if you don't really need that much closure, like, you were probably never that deep anyways.
It's true.
Know?
It's true.
Yeah. Ugh. This is making me I feel like I'm on a ship and I need some Dramamine.
The whole relationship thing.
Yeah.
Or how sweaty it is in the studio.
I'm feeling emotionally sweaty. Yeah.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. No, this was this is probably the most, like, vulnerable I've been in a while on a podcast, you know?
Let's go.
And part of that
Me
is
too.
because usually I'm the one asking the freaking questions.
Yeah.
So
I know. I was like, what's it going to be like? Role reverse. Like,
no, this is fun because it's kind of like, we're both running the show.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think you're awesome.
Thank you.
And the fact that this is the first day that we've ever met each other in person is crazy.
I know.
I think you're great.
Thank you.
You're an inspiration. I think your energy is just on point and, just very inspiring.
You're the best. I appreciate it. Let me ask you, we can wrap this up. We've been John for a while here.
We were jumping around.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, here's what we're going to do. We're going to play a game.
Okay, I'm so excited.
We're both going to clear our brains
Okay.
of the previous conversations we've had.
Got it.
And we're going to ask each other one last tough question, one last vulnerable question.
Okay.
Okay? Whoever has it first can go. Are you close?
Almost.
Okay, let me go, and then you come up with it.
Okay.
Okay. What is something in your current relationship that you worry about the most, or that you struggle with the most?
Assumption. Hands down.
You assuming or him assuming?
Both.
Double assuming.
Double assumption.
Yeah. You're worried that will just continue and become a problem?
I think assumption leads to resentment.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're assuming things about each other, about our intentions, about what we meant here, what we meant there, or what they mean or what they want, their intention, right? Then, like, if we never get to the root of that, we're just going to resent each other.
Yeah, totally.
And resentment is the love killer.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, assumption. Did you want like a longer, a deeper?
Not necessarily.
Because we could get there.
No,
I mean, I think it just fits. It fits in line with like just everything that I've said. It's like you got to be able to talk to your partner.
Do you feel like you guys are getting better at that?
Oh yeah.
So it's not a real fear.
It's just it's in the moment fear.
Yeah.
When that happens and I'm feeling that a fear of he's making an assumption or I'm making an assumption about him. Yeah. That is very real. Yeah. Feels very real to me. Yeah. And sometimes the assumptions are even like it's just classic. It's like, well, he for sure is bugged by this. Yeah, yeah. Without a doubt in my mind. 100%.
Absolutes.
He is bugged by this.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you ask him and he's like, it either could be like, no, not at all. Or it could be, yeah. Yeah. I'm bugged.
Right, right.
But that's okay because I still love you.
Right.
And then you're like, yeah. Okay. And the honest truth, and that's what's funny about it is it's like, even if he is, why do we make it why do we make the answer of whether that's real or not the worst case scenario?
Yeah, yeah.
Especially in relationships, you have to trust your partner that whatever you're assuming, trust that whatever the answer is of whether they're assuming it or not, you have to trust that they're still going to love you anyways.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, your worst fears may come true in a relationship.
Right.
But when you're with the right person, they will love you anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
And you'll be like, oh my gosh, I hate that about myself too.
Yeah.
And then they're like, yeah, but I'm here. Yeah. And you're like, oh, okay.
Sub question.
Cool. Yes.
Are you, cause you're in this kind of scary spot where you've been dating a few months, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, you're starting to get crazy about this person, but it's still kind of too early to make wild assumptions about the future and plans. Are you worried that it might not work out? Or are you pretty confident? You're like, I think I found my freaking guy.
I'm pretty confident. I mean, I would kick myself if, you know, in 6 months, that's not the case.
Yeah, sure.
Of course. This is the vulnerable side of me talking. But, yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that I went into this relationship thinking and talking to him about is I was like, because it was such a quick turnaround. My breakup to dating him, so quick. Yeah. Unreal.
Classic.
It was terrible. Like, I was so scared. And I told him that. I was like, I really hate this. Yeah. You know? But what I told him, and I was like, I'm not going to do this if we're not going to, like, really, really face each other. Yeah. And we're not going to, like, we are going to face the hard like everyone talks about in a relationship. Yeah. I'm not going to do this if we're not both equally committed to giving it everything we can. Yeah, yeah. And if we broke up for some reason, I have no doubt in my mind that it is because we did everything.
Yeah, you exhausted.
We exhausted every option.
I like that, yeah.
And that's how, I mean, that's how I'm dating him now. Yeah. You know?
And that's really the only way you can. Like, you can't hold anything back, but it's hard in those early months when you're scared of losing someone. You're like, yeah, the more I share, the more it's going to hurt if it doesn't work out. Right.
Yes. Yeah. It's like this, like, negative, positive, like weird. Yeah. No, no, I mean,
it's awesome. I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Yeah. It's crazy. But I think it takes an insane amount of trust. Yeah. Yeah. Insane amount of hard, and, you know, but that's how any relationship is built ever. Yeah. Any good one, at least, right? Any of the ones that you're like, they're happy. Right. You know, it's because they've seen the gates of hell with each other. Right. You know? But, okay, I think I have a question right now. Okay. What is a non-negotiable in your next partner?
Like a deal breaker?
Deal breaker, whether it's like something physically or like emotionally, like what is the just absolute
if she's over 6'7", no.
I mean, honestly,
physically I can't do it. I'll tell you what, I went out with a girl who was 6'5" one time.
You're pretty tall too.
Yeah, I'm 6'3".
Okay, yeah.
We smooched, had a good time.
You were on your tippy toes?
I was on, that's neither here nor there. I was wearing my Doc Martens.
The platforms.
No, we were horizontal, so it wasn't as big of a deal.
Gotcha. Like her feet are hanging off like the side of the bed, and yours are like curled up underneath her. Yeah,
on the little spoon. It was a little
like petting you.
Yeah. It was a little. The most awkward part of the night was like the goodbye hug, because like I said, like
her chin is like resting on your head.
Yeah, yeah, anyway. Oh, sweet girl. But yeah, I don't love the extraordinarily tall. No, let's see. This is hard because there are so many things that are like non-negotiable.
I just mean like, what's one that like they tell you first date and you're like, will not go out with him again. Just because like you can tell. You're just like,
Sure.
it's not gonna work.
Let's see, that's hard because so for me, yeah, you have these 5 pillars, and to me they're in like descending order of importance. So I think attraction is first, just because if you don't have it, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, of course,
Right?
of course.
But
it won't last long.
I don't think it's the most important thing, but I think it's the first thing.
Right.
Okay. And then to me, the most important thing is personality.
Mm-hmm.
And so the other things I need to a certain extent, but to me, if the personality isn't off the charts amazing to me,
yeah,
it's a deal breaker.
It's a no.
Right. So like me and my best friend, we live together. We're in similar stages of life. And so we're always like, yo, how was your date? How's this girl? What's going on with this girl? And the question we always ask is, what's the personality? What's personality like?
It's like, she's cute, but does she have a personality?
Right. And we rarely do it in a British accent. But
you ever watched Love Island?
No.
Oh, you'd love that.
I don't think that
you would love
as
it.
a comedy?
As like a happy or not happy kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so a comedy. Yeah. Like okay. You just watch it for just pure like wow. It's just unbelievable. Yeah, no. They always say, well, what's her personality?
Right. But like the fact that
the middle camera's fine. As long as that one's on you, then we're good.
Okay.
The middle one's hard to revive.
Okay. We're wrapping up anyway. Yeah, like, is she cute? What does she look like is like assumed. Like the fact that I went out with her means I think she's cute.
Yeah, of course. Right.
If I'm willing to go out with her a second time, it means I think she's cute enough to date, essentially.
Yeah.
Right. I'm attracted to her enough.
Right. Enough.
But yeah, our main question is, what's her personality like? And we'll talk in, guys always talk about like, oh, she's an 8, like her body's a 9 or whatever. We talk in scale about personality.
Yeah.
So, and we don't hand out 10s willy nilly, but
well, of course not,
because 10 is a perfect score. But to us, like in this little scoring system, the girl her personality has to be a 9+. It has to be crazy good. And that doesn't mean there isn't weird things about her personality that you're like, it's kind of weird. Or
sure, right.
We don't click there.
Well, does like personality still encompass like emotional intelligence and like...
It's a big umbrella, right?
Okay, yeah.
But that stuff kind of is secondary. Like we'll get there. That's important too.
Right.
But like, if I don't think my partner is awesome and like, if I don't like... love the sound of their voice and think everything they say is interesting, and if I don't think they're like every little thing they do is cool, like I have no business being with them.
Yeah.
I really don't. And the problem is, this is where a lot of guys, I think, I'm sure girls do it too, but I think a lot of guys get hypnotized by attraction level. Right?
Yeah.
So if they're crazy attracted to them, chemistry's off the charts, intimacy's great, let the personality score slide a little bit because they're like, well, everything else is so great. I can deal with with her kind of sucking in this area.
In this area.
Right?
Yeah.
But to me, that's who you're like building life with forever. Like you better think that person is the bee's knees.
Like the funniest, most awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you're like, hey, how was your night with so-and-so? Yeah, it was fun. Like, we got dinner or whatever. Break up with them.
You're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, head for the hills.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same way, like, I feel like a lot of people have 1 or 2 friends, your best friends, that you think everything they do is wonderful. Because you look up to them, you love them, and you see all their weaknesses more than anybody, right? But you don't care. You think they're perfect.
Yeah.
And this girl I was going out with that, destroyed this area of my body. She said something I loved. She would always say, like when she noticed a friend doing something that she liked or something, she would go, oh, she's perfect. And she saw perfection in a cool way where if she loved somebody, to her, that person was perfect.
Yeah.
Even though they made mistakes, she wasn't like naive about it, but she was just all in with whoever she was with.
Yeah.
You know? And I just think that's how you have to be. Like,
yeah.
if you don't think your person is just, you don't just love being with them all the time, head for the hills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not, yeah.
Yeah. And maybe that's me, right? Maybe I have, for whatever reason, I just need that in my life. Maybe other people can be way more satisfied with an extreme intellectual bond,
right?
An extreme chemical bond,
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I need and find value in those things as well. But for me, I need a best friend. I need somebody that I think just is so amazing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I love that. I feel I definitely know the difference between,
right.
I mean, like you just do, right?
Yeah.
You
And
just know it.
sometimes you forget, right? Because
Yeah.
you're in kind of a rut. You're in kind of a weird relationship valley. But then if you get out of that rut and you find someone that you actually have that with, you're like, wait, what was I doing over here? This is wild that I was even over here.
It's so funny.
Like,
personality really is so important.
It's everything.
Well, it's also like, how are they going to show up in social settings?
Yeah.
Like, with my ex, and like I'm just so sorry if for some reason he ever listens to this.
Shout out John.
Yes. John. Not John. But I literally was like, I would get scared to bring him to places.
Yeah.
Because I was like, we do connect intellectually and we get each other and like we're there. But like, I am terrified for you to leave the house. Because you're just going to say something crazy and it's not going to make sense. And, you know, I feel, well, follow-up question really quick, and then we can wrap it up. How do you, because if that really matters to you, there's always going to be, like when you're with someone, there will always be little things, little quirks that you're kind of like, oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? If they are truly like, they are your person. They are your best friend. They're perfect. And they have these little quirks that, because even my best friends can piss me off.
Sure. You know? Sure. I think first of all, you won't find a person on earth that doesn't have those little things that bug you. You know, even if they're like exactly like you'll be like, oh, I don't like that about me.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
That's
but
facts.
I think the longer you're with someone, if you approach it with love and you approach it with the right attitude, those little weaknesses become part of why you love them so much. And maybe not even weaknesses, but just little things that bug you, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think when you can see someone as a whole, you can love them more.
Yeah.
When you see them as kind of this person you've created and put on a pedestal, that's not a full person.
Right. You see them for everything.
Have you ever heard of wabi-sabi?
No.
So wabi-sabi is this Japanese aesthetic, and it's also kind of a philosophy. It's this idea that there's perfection and there's beauty in mistakes. And so what it is it'll be like a broken like clay piece of pottery, and they glue it together. They like glue it back together, and where they glue it, they like put in like gold or whatever. So they show like the broken bits are actually really beautiful.
Wow.
And so I think if you approach it when you're like, man, I have a never ending list of things about me that suck. I have a never ending list of shortcomings. Like, I wish people saw mine as endearing and beautiful. Because, you know, when you're with somebody and you do something you're kind of embarrassed about, you're kind of ashamed of.
And they just have the biggest smile on their face.
And they're just like, oh, I love that about you. And you're like, that's the best thing you could have ever said to me.
Yeah.
You know? And I think if you can do that with your partner, then they kind of become perfect, right? In a really beautiful way. And it doesn't mean they're not going to piss you off sometimes, because we're just humans. And sometimes you're just in a mood and you're going to get pissed off by anything, you know?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. But yeah, I like, what was it? I think I was telling a girl one time about like some little insecurity I have about my body. Something like, oh, like I wish my arms were bigger. Like I'm just a skinny guy, you know? And I like, I'm not super insecure about it. I've always been skinny, but I think I was just kind of getting deep with her, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. I just wish these are kind of, I don't know, they're not, whatever. And she's like, I love your arms. Like, I think they're really, I don't know, I just love them,
Yeah.
And
and you're like,
okay,
all right,
not going to the gym today.
Works for me.
Not getting these puppies any bigger.
Yeah.
But yeah, when, and I think it's not necessarily an easy thing to do, to see people's quirks and their weaknesses as beauty.
Yeah.
As something to find endearing.
Yeah.
But I think if you can get there, it's really special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Wow. What a great way to wrap up the episode.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah, that was fun.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
For texting or, messaging me. And I'm glad we were able to make this happen.
Yeah, this is an awesome studio, and I love what you're doing. And I hope, here's my hope for you. Okay. Here's my prayer for you. I hope that you, at no stage in your future, decide, this isn't as successful as I want it to be. This isn't working out. My audience isn't blah, 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 this or that. I hope you never quit doing this.
Thank you.
Okay.
That means a lot.
And because there's going to come times where you're going to want to or be tempted to, but I just don't think you should. I think you have an awesome voice, and you're really insightful, and you're a lot, like, you have such a better head start than me. Like, you know what I mean? Like I wish I was doing this at your age. Like you're doing, it's awesome.
Thank you.
End of story.
Well, you're gonna have to come back.
I'll be back.
We'll record a part 2.
Yeah. I'll come back tomorrow. I don't care.
Easily.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll do an episode every day.
We're like, yeah, you know what? We're just going to scrap our individuals and just.
We're going to be a team.
I love it.
Yeah, I would love to.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, thanks everyone for listening. We'll catch you next week.
Love you.